So now for the fun part, which is getting out and looking at some properties together. So the first thing we want to understand up front is when is our availability to actually go and look at properties. So are you only able to look at properties on the weekend? Can you do nights and weekends? Do you have pretty good flexibility throughout the day? Knowing your availability is important so that we can do our best to link up our schedules as much as possible. And just know the most important thing is to get you into a property at the time that is convenient for you. So every now and then I do have my team members who are going to step in and help facilitate this process. Another suggestion is going out and seeing open houses on your own. So if you have an open Saturday or Sunday afternoon and you're wanting to just go check out some properties, especially if you're very early in the process and you have some time and you're still developing your wish list, I always encourage people to go and check out some open houses. You can go in, you can actually touch, feel, and get an idea of what these properties are. Because up to this point, you've probably only looked online. So now is taking it to the next step and going and seeing if these properties in person match up to how they look and what you expect from online. All you have to do when you go and check in at these open houses is just give the agent my contact info and they're more than happy to follow up with me. And if you guys are interested, I'm more than happy to follow up on your behalf. It's important to understand that the showing process may look a little bit differently, whether we're in a buyer's market or a seller's market. A buyer's market is when there's more supply than there is demand, and a seller's market is when there's more demand than there is supply. So typically our first time out together, we're gonna go out and see 4 or 5 properties, and we're gonna tour them every 30 minutes on the 30 minutes. The goal of that first time out, maybe is to find the right property, but a lot of times we just find that this is a really good exercise for you and I to get on the same page. Getting on the same page that first time out, it allows me to go and start looking for additional inventory that may not be on the active market, such as a pocket listing, AKA a coming soon listing. So now we understand what our availability is and what the showing process is gonna look like. Now we are actually out looking at properties and we wanna know what are the questions that we should be asking during our showings. These are gonna be things such as, are there any rental restrictions in the building? So if you buy the unit today, if you decided 2 years down the road to rent the unit out, are you going to have the ability to do so? In the city of Chicago, there are a lot of different buildings that have rental caps and different rental restrictions, so understanding all of your exit strategies is incredibly important. Other questions we're gonna ask are, what are the ages of the appliances and what are the ages of the mechanicals, AKA your furnace, your hot water heater, and your air conditioning. These are some of the largest expenses that could happen after you close on the property if you're not doing your diligence up front. Another thing we like to ask is, what are the reserves in the building? So we're trying to get an understanding for what the health and the financial health of that actual building is. Because a lot of times in Chicago, if you're not buying a single family home, you're buying a unit, but you're also buying the association. So we want to understand if there's been any recent projects or if there's any large capital expenditures coming up in the next 2 fiscal years. We really want to understand where the building is today and how the building is projecting and budgeting for different maintenance type items into the future. So now that we understand the unit and we understand the health of the association, now we want to focus in on what's important to the seller and the sale of their home. So these are going to be things like, what is the motivation to sell? What is the ideal timing for the seller? What's ultimately most important so that we can take that information back and we can craft the strongest offer possible. In today's modern world, you as the consumer have so much information at your fingertips, but you may think that you need to see 25, 30 properties before going under contract. However, statistically on average, I show buyers 5 to 10 homes before they actually decide that they want to make an offer. Eventually, we're going to get to the point where you walk in and you know this is the home. In your gut, this is telling you, I have to have this property. As soon as we leave that showing, you're likely going to ask, all right, Jordan, what do we need to do to get this home? And that's going to lead us into step number 3 of our process, which is the offer process.